This demonstration we're going to look at installing, configuring and using the offline virtual machine servicing tool. This will allow me to patch virtual machines which are sitting in the library. So what we've got the MSI for the offline virtual machine servicing tool. So we'll just double click on this. Next thing it'll do is it'll just come into the welcome screen. So within the welcome screen we'll just click next. Accept the license agreement after reading it. Select next. Next thing we're going to do here is we're just going to go on the features to install screen. We're just going to click next. We're just going to install everything from within here. Then we'll click install. Then what we'll do, we'll just leave this for a few minutes just while it's installing. So at this point here I'm just going to pause the video and return back once the installation is complete. Right, it's now complete, so we'll just click the finish button and we'll just close down this Windows Explorer screen. Now, next thing for us to do is actually configure the offline virtual machine servicing tool. So we'll just come to Start, All Programs, into the Microsoft Offline Virtual Machine Servicing tool, and what we want to do here is just actually launch the tool itself. So once this launches up, next thing to do is actually to configure the tool. Okay, we're up and running, so next thing to do is actually configure this thing. So what we're going to do here is just actually configure the tool. Within here we need to specify our VMM server, which in our case is NYC-VMM. Specify the configuration manager primary site server. So in this case here, we're actually going to go for NYC server 6. And we'll do the same thing in the WSUS server as well. Click next. Now what we're going to do here is just configure our maintenance host. Okay, we're in Contoso, we'll just specify NYC host 2 and we'll just move that across. We've got that in place now. Next thing to do, just select next. The purpose of the maintenance host, as it says here, all we're going to do here is this host is actually going to be used for any of the servicing jobs for the virtual machines. So we'll click next. Having a look at all of the timeouts, what we'll do here for configuring the global settings, we'll have a value of 5 in the case of minutes for timeout for moving the virtual machine and also the timeout for updating the virtual machine. Now we've done that, we can click finish. All done. Next thing to do here is just create a virtual machine group. So what we'll do here is we'll just click new group and we're going to call this Contoso Offline VMs. So in we come. So Contoso Offline, and then we'll call that VMs. We'll just ensure that we do have the library server highlighted because that's where the virtual machines are coming from. And in the case of the virtual machines that we want to patch, we've only got the one. So we'll move that across. So this is the virtual machine we're going to patch by using WSUS with the offline virtual machine servicing tool. Click our finish button. We've now created the group. Next thing to do is actually create a servicing job for these virtual machines, or this virtual machine, the only one I've got. So all we're going to do here is we're just going to come in and create our new servicing job. Right, we'll give it a name, and what we're going to call this thing is we'll just call it Offline VMs Update. So that's done. We're using WSUS, we're not using Configuration Manager, so we'll ensure that that's highlighted and ensure we've highlighted the correct host. Click next. Next thing to do is highlight the virtual machine, move that across. So for the selected virtual machine, click our next button. Next thing to do here is just ensure that we've got use configured virtual machine network, which we do, so we can connect the WSUS server, but we could have, say, a test and dev environment for WSUS as well for these virtual machines. Specify our NYC host 2 to be our maintenance host for servicing the job, so that's where the virtual machine is going to get placed while it's being serviced. Click next. Next thing to do is just fill in the credentials for actually logging into the virtual machine. So our domain is Contoso, username is administrator, and then we stick in our password. Click our next button. Next thing to do is decide exactly when we want to actually run these jobs. So what we'll do is we'll run it now, but as you can see I could schedule it overnight, for example. Select finish. Next thing to do, just come into our servicing jobs, maximize our servicing job and have a look at the update job. You can see the thing in progress. Now this could take anywhere, up to half an hour in order for this to occur. So what we'll do, now that we're happy that this is actually in progress, we'll leave it and return back once the job is complete. Right, we can see that the virtual machine is now moving from the library onto the host, so we'll wait for this to be deployed. We'll then allow it to actually have the service packs made available to the virtual machine and applied to the virtual machine, and we'll return back again in a little bit just to see how the job is completing. So what we can now see that the virtual machine was moved across onto the host. Virtual machine was then shut down, was then patched. We then stored the virtual machine back into the library. And if we just minimize this down and just go to the virtual machines tab, we can now see that the lab name virtual machine is missing. Come back in the library, we can see it's now stored back within the library itself. So what the offline servicing tool has done, it's patched the virtual machine, stored it back within the library. And that's the end of this demonstration. Thanks very much.